Can we get some F's in the chat for YSG? You were amazing for so long, buddy, but you've now been replaced by the far superior upgraded model that's Zhuge Liang. And the implications here are astronomical for early game players especially. So stick around in this video for the important things you need to know about how Zhuge Liang is going to change the metagame for what you'll invest in the early game and what you'll use in the late game. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and it is critical to me to give you the best advice possible on which commanders to use, whether you're a brand new player or you're in the late game. And the addition of Zhuge Liang has dramatically changed the context for the most tried and true, trusted and tested investment in the game, and that is YSG. Because the thing is that even if you don't max Zhuge Liang, who will be available from the Wheel of Fortune, he'll be better than your Yi Seong. So in this video, I want to give you the 3 critical changes to the game that have made it so that I don't think YSG is the best early game investment anymore. In fact, I think you should just save your sculptures, and I'll explain exactly why. Now, if you like videos designed to help you get value and smash your enemies, consider smashing the subscribe button and throwing a like on the video to honor my commitment to bringing you the best information possible. And as always, there's timestamps in the description of the video, so you can jump to whichever portion of the video you're most interested in. Let's start with the 3 reasons why YSG, the tried and true, the #1 single most recommended commander in the game, should, in my opinion, no longer be recommended. And although his skills are the same, okay, he's still got 1700 damage factor when expertise, hitting 5 targets in a circle area of effect all around the commander. And he also gives you a rage boost, an attack boost of 100% periodically, and 50% boosted skill damage is nuts. The thing is that now, unlike any other time in Rise of Kingdoms, the developers have changed the context. Now you will be able to obtain and use Season of Conquest, that's endgame commanders, in KVK Season 3. Now, we don't have the exact details yet of how that's going to work, because the very first kingdoms in the game will be going through that really soon, and this is a big change. But a part of the reason that you would recommend Yi Seong in the early game is you wanted to give everybody a commander they could work on that was legendary. They could use their precious, universal, legendary commander sculptures to get value when they fight in the open field. But given that the time horizon where these commanders are going to be the best of the best was just cut by like a third, that's a big deal. Instead of 3 KVKs of this is the best commander you could have, now it's just 2 KVKs of this is the best commander you could have. And although Yi Seong will be good for those 2 KVKs, the fact that you can get Season of Conquest commanders sooner makes it so that if you're free to play especially, I think you probably ought to hoard your sculptures for the new Zhuge Liang and other commanders that you could gain access to. But this is just one of the factors that makes it so that, hey, I think perhaps Yi Seong has met his maker. It's the end of days for him. The second reason that Yi Seong is perhaps sunset entirely is because Zhuge Liang is not only better when he's maxed, he's better when he's even just got a couple skills into him. If you just max the first 2 skills on Zhuge Liang, you have a 2000 damage factor. Oh, okay, that's more damage factor, with a crazy debuff, reducing the damage that the targets deal by 15% for 3 seconds. That's insane. So you are doing damage and making the enemy deal less damage, and you don't have to expertise him to theoretically get the circle area of effect for his damage. Okay, that's nuts. And his second skill gives 30% health and an archer damage boost, and you deal some damage factor, and you shrug off debuffs. Like, what he is doing when he is not even maxed is completely nutty. Even if the next 2 skills, you only have 1 point into him. Okay, so he may be better than Yi Seong with fewer skills deployed. Okay, so reason #1 why Yi Seong hits the bin is because now he's useful for 1/3 less time. Reason #2 is that Zhuge Liang with less skills is probably just better than Yi Seong anyways. And reason #3 is a little building that you get when you enter KVK Season 4 and beyond. This is called the Museum. You accumulate exhibit coins and relic coins in order to put extra buffs onto commanders. And Yi Seong is one of those commanders where you can boost his defense by 20% and skill damage by 5%. Very nice buffs. But the thing is, when a new player gets to the Season of Conquest, they're very limited on the number of tokens they have here. And there's only so many commanders you can max. Well, gee, if you could skip one of these commanders, that's a pretty big deal. You could reallocate all that currency to Ethelfled, for example, or if you bought Minamoto to Minamoto, or even better, you could work on Mehmed, for example. So there's a lot of commanders that all of a sudden want this currency. Yi Seong is yet another one of those commanders. Well, if you don't work on him, you can commit that currency other places and have a really solid entry point to KVK Season 3, 4, and beyond. So it's these three reasons that Yi Seong hits the bin. First of all, his meta lifetime has been shrunk dramatically. Second of all, Zhuge Liang is just better with less skills. Third of all, you don't have to invest museum currency into Zhuge Liang. Now, this is a big deal and has huge implications. I mean, the tried and true, everybody does it, investment order in the early game has been to work on Yi Seong. And now, what do? If you are a high spender and you're max spinning wheels, I'm talking about spinning wheels to at least 100 or beyond, well, I think you could still work on Yi Seong. I think you could still work on Alexander the Great. And there's going to be whales that just go and do that, and they spend like crazy, and like that's just how they're going to play the game. But for the overwhelming majority of players, that's not how they're spending, that's not how they're playing, and they should just hoard their sculptures. I don't think you invest in Yi Seong. I don't think you invest in Alexander the Great. I think you wait until KVK Season 3, and hopefully at that time, you'll have a really easy way to go and obtain heroes or commanders like Zhuge Liang, and also Nevsky, and also Skippy Prime. So if you are a newer player to the game, what does this mean your investment order becomes? I think those three commanders I just mentioned are your priority. Even if you take them to 5511, you end up with 3 marches, and here's what those will be. You use Zhuge Liang with Thutmose. Remember, Zhuge Liang's big weakness is that he doesn't have march speed. So, okay, pair with Thutmose, baby. Get some freaking march speed, all right? Over time, you'll be working on his skills anyways from gold keys. Maybe you have him to 5511. Easy enough. Good to go. Ideally, you'll eventually replace Thutmose with Boudica, but that's a long-term project because you have 2 other pairs you need to work on. One of those pairs is going to be Nevsky Prime. Well, I guess that's not Prime. God, Nevsky Prime would be kind of insane. He's already insane. Nevsky, okay, with either Minamoto or Mehmed. It's a great march. With the Mehmed, you do area of effect damage. With the Minamoto, you can relic him for crazy value, and he does amazing single target damage. 2 great ways to get going. The other thing you could do is skip the Nevsky if you maxed your Minamoto, and you could just use Minamoto with Mehmed, and that would also be an awesome combo. The final pairing you would work on, ideally usable in KVK Season 3, is Skippy over here, Skippy Prime, with Ethelfled. Ethelfled's very strong. Skippy Prime is really good. Alternatively, you could use Martel with Skippy as the secondary. And there you go. That's 3 commander pairings, 1 infantry, 1 archer, 1 cavalry, so that you can work on all those different sets of equipment. And because eventually you'll start getting armaments, and armaments are completely random. Some you'll get with good stats for each troop type, including Siege. GG, get wrecked, nerds. I've been wrecked more than my fair share. I'll just brag about that for a second. I have the literal best Siege stats for wedge formation probably in the game. It's insane. Okay. That's over 30% of stats and an inscription over here for Siege. It's disgusting. What I'm trying to say is you'll get armaments randomly for infantry, archers, and cavalry. You should make 3 marches. 1 should be infantry, 1 should be archers, 1 should be cavalry. And those are the commanders you invest in. But Chisgule, what if I am in the late game? Well, that's a fair ask. If you're in the late game and you already have Yi Seong, is he just instantly benched? And I would say the answer is, for most people, probably not. You'll still use him probably for a while. It all depends on how many archer marches you have. If you have one Archer March, then I think the answer is going to be really obvious. You use Boudica Prime with Zhuge Liang. And this gives you amazing debuff shrugging off capabilities and also nice damage. That's the combo you ultimately use, with the exception of Canyon, where I think it's almost guaranteed you use Zhuge Liang with Yi Seong. You keep them in the back. They just do big damage. You try to shelter them and keep them protected. That's going to be nuts. That's probably what you want to do for Canyon. But for Field, you don't want to pair them together. There's no March speed. You're just going to get wrecked. There's no way that you want to do that. You need desperately to get some March speed onto your Zhuge Liang. So it either comes from the Boudica Prime or somewhere else. I would not pair with Yi Seong. Would not recommend that. Even though it might do nice damage, if you're a sitting duck, eventually you'll get caught out of position and eventually you'll get completely decimated. I don't think that's a good plan. So with one March, it's Boudica, Zhuge Liang. If it's two Marches, what do? Well, I plan to use two Marches, and I plan to max Zhuge Liang before my fighting coming up. So what does that look like? I'm going to use Boudica with Artemisia, which is a tried and true combination that works incredibly well, leveraging the fact that Boudica shrugs off the silence effect from Artemisia while still fully benefiting from the extra damage that you get to deal. And then I plan to pair Nebu with Zhuge Liang. Zhuge Liang has no March speed, so great, Nebu does. Easy decision. The only thing I'll say that is going to be weird here is that even with the 30% health on Zhuge Liang, I am telling you, Nebu and Zhuge Liang will get targeted, and they're going to get dunked. I have used Nebu with Gilgamesh and been like, man, I'm getting wrecked. And even though Gilgamesh is so good, 30% health, he reduces the normal attack damage you take. It doesn't matter, bro. I'm telling you, for whatever reason, when people sit on that march, it just freaking pops. It just disappears. It evaporates. So Zhuge Liang is going to have the same problem. But the thing is that most people are still using Nebu with Yi Seong today. And that, I mean, sure, you know, Yi Seong's got a little bit of defense from the relic, but I'm just telling you, it's still going to get wrecked, but it's still the best combo to use. And the alternative that gives you a more tanky option is, instead of using Nebu, if you're serious about wanting a more tanky march, the upgrade, in my opinion, then becomes Henry primary with Zhuge Liang secondary. And that will be a tanky, high damage, probably the best combo you could use. Granted, it's less area of effect damage. So when you're getting focused, the Henry will be far more performant. But when you're not getting focused, the Nebu with Zhuge Liang unchecked is going to be disgusting. It's a must-answer threat, is what I'm trying to say. So that means Yi Seong is nowhere to be found. Yi Seong is benched in a perfect roster. Now, most people don't have a perfect roster, bro. So where would Yi Seong work? Well, I think if you're bringing two Archer Marches, you could still do Boudica with Yi Seong. Okay, that's still a great way to go. You go with Boudica with Yi Seong. Alternatively, you could do Boudica with Cyrus. You could do Boudica with Honda. A lot of good pairings for Boudica because she's basically insane. But Yi Seong is, unfortunately, in my opinion, at the end of days. And for a commander who was available in Season 1 of KVK, he's had the longest life, I think, of any commander in the game as far as how relevant he is and for how long he's been relevant. But if you're asking me, Chisgule Gaming, in 2023, should you go max Yi Seong at the start of the game? I think the answer is now, probably not. Now, if you've started this project, I think you should probably finish it. I still feel like leaving him unfinished would be a mistake. But if you're brand new to the game and you haven't started working on him, I think you should just save up those sculptures for Zhuge Liang and all the other crazy Season of Conquest commanders, because their power level is a cut above everything else, and we're only getting more and more commanders that are a cut above everything else. So as much as I like Alexander the Great, Yi Seong, and all the other pre-Season of Conquest commanders, if you are a low spender or not spending at all, hoard up, baby, because now in Season 3 of KVK, you will theoretically be able to unlock and use these crazy Season of Conquest commanders. If you're looking for more information about Zhuge Liang pairings and talents, or are wondering about this other commander on the screen, Dido, I'll have a card in the end screen where I go over both of them much more in depth. And in addition, if you're looking for an early game commander investment order, I'll have a card in the end screen where I literally said in the video They may release new archers. Consider just swapping in the new archer. This will give you a very detailed commander investment order where literally, instead of Yi Seong, just swap in the new archer and you're good to go. Card will be for that in the end screen in just a second.